Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to Workshop Taz. I have not practiced any of this, so hopefully this will go by fairly well. Usually I kind of run a little bit of this through my head and try to get an idea, which I sort of have, but sort of haven't. So today's kind of a special little day. Chucky, I have your favorite rods, buddy, from your favorite place. Anyway, we'll get to that story here in just a second. Actually, no, I lied. We're going to get to it right now. I got this idea to use these rods from Chucky 2009. He did a video here about a year ago, I think, and with his displeasure with a specific company, I'm not going to mention any names, and he gave the reasons why, and I totally understand why he's unhappy with it. I haven't had that experience, but I understand where he's coming from on this. But in his displeasure of explaining why he doesn't like to do business with this company, he tried these rods anyway, and when he did try these rods, they turned out not to be too bad. That's what he said. He was surprised at how well they welded, but also expressed that he would never buy them. Now, this isn't about Chucky. I'm just giving you guys the idea of where I got these from anyway. So with that, what didn't stick in my head is Chucky's deal with that, but what did stick in my head is that he did weld with those and said, hey, they were better than I thought, but I still wouldn't buy them. So I thought, well, let me keep that locked in up there. If you guys have been watching some of my videos, you notice I've been having a not good time with the big box store 7018s, and these here are 7018s. So with that, that gave me the idea to keep that in the back burner and think one day maybe I'll try these and see how they work. Before I bought them reluctantly, but before I bought them, I looked at some reviews, some sites. I can't think of what the heck I'm thinking of. Anyway, I did some reviews on it. They don't seem to get very good reviews, and I thought, oh man, well, let me try this anyway. Chucky tried it. They seem to work pretty good. Let me see if they work for me. Like I said, if you guys have been watching my videos, you know the big box store Lincoln 7018s are not working for me. In my belief, and my belief only, if I had an AC machine, they'd work perfect, which makes sense because the big box stores both sell the AC Lincoln stick welder, and that would just make sense. Even though these rods are supposed to be AC/DC, they haven't worked for me. For some of you folks out there, they have worked for, and that's great. Each machine's different, each welder's different, each situation's different. So with these 7018s here, I decided to go ahead and give them a try. I've never bought name brand, well, I guess that's not entirely true. Lincoln big box store doesn't work for me. I have tried the Vulcan 7018s. They seem to work pretty good. I thought, let me try these too. And why I tried these is I'm trying to get a library of rods that work and don't work for me. Say you run, and I'm just kind of suggesting that to people. If you have your favorite rod, that's great. If you can always get it, that's great. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, what if I got a project to do? I've burned up all my rods practicing, and now I need to do a project or whatever. And let's see, what am I gonna use? I can, I've got options. I can either swing by Harbor Freight and get Vulcan 7018s, which seem to work for me. I've been working with these a little bit. These seem to work, so that's another option. The third option would be to go to my other favorite welding store, which I have not tried their 7018s yet. I don't know if they're going to give me name brand or if they have their own. I haven't asked them yet, but just options. That's all it is. You might think about the last minute, so you go, okay, well, I'm in between here and here. These rods work, these rods work. What do I want to do? Who am I closest to? I don't want to just rely on one rod, because in some situations you may not have that option. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So with that, I reluctantly bought these things and tried them. And like I said, they didn't get good reviews at all. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. The first rod that I fired up, now, mind you, this is my first T-joint, okay? So it's not the rod. This is all me that's messed this up. But in my opinion, that's pretty doggone good for my first stick weld T-joint, because I've been doing everything on flat. Now, is that acceptable? No, it's not acceptable, but it's good for me as a starting point. I don't know if you can see this because it's reflecting back off on here, but it seemed to run pretty good. It's you know, it's not going to be right because I was long arcing, short arcing. I could feel myself jamming the rod into the material and things like that. So that was all my fault. But for starting out with this rod, never trying it before, and they don't get good reviews, I was really shocked at how it fired right up. Of course, once I got that first rod, it struck right away and did this. I could never get it to strike on the first strike or whatever the heck you want to call it, so I had to fight with that. But that's not the rod, that's my fault. You know, I need to practice with it. Anyway, so what I wanted to show you guys is it just seemed to work pretty decent, and I got right about here, and I think I had arc blow. And for those of you that are not familiar with arc blow, look that up. That's not a slang term, that's not a perv term, that actually is a welding situation. We'll get to that here in a minute. What I found with welding with these, since I wasn't fighting the rod, and I wasn't, is it going to porosity, is it going to do this, all of my faults came out almost immediately. I mean, when I first hit it, I'm running this bead here, it's like it was very fluid. It seemed to work well, but you know, all my faults started coming out, and they were almost immediate. You know, it's like, well, this rod seems to be working pretty good, very fluid-like. And then when I got done, I could see all my mistakes. You know, I could tell when I was long arcing, short arcing. You know, if I had my angle wrong. And also, I'll show you the other things here. If I don't know if you guys can see that, but I got the material on the base rather more than in between the two pieces. I should have been more in the middle, and I wasn't. It seemed like I hung out down here more at the base than I should have. But like I said, this is my first T-joint, and I'm going to show you guys all this undercut. I also got a lot of undercut, a lot. Let's see. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a lot of undercut right here, right here, right here, and probably all up in here too. I'll try to get that close enough so you guys can see that. Hopefully you can see the undercut stuff. Okay, now this is where we're going to get to here. So welders, experienced welders, answer me this question. What I did is, as I was welding with these, they ran great and ran great, and then I got to about here and it went puh, and that was it. It just quit. I thought, well, that was weird. So what I tried to do was go back here, reestablish the arc, and come back and tie in. And what I did is I hung out too far here, too much here. So you can see there's an excess amount of material here. That's my fault. That's not the rod's fault. Most likely not the machine's fault. I didn't tie in well. I get that. Like I said, these rods are pulling out all my faults. So that's fine. Then we tried it on the other side. Pretty much the same thing. I don't think I got as much undercut. I think I dropped the current down, so I didn't get as much undercut as I did the last time. Hopefully this shows it better in the video because it's reflected on the screen here and looks terrible. Seemed to go pretty good. You know, like I said, I got some undercut in there. Right about here, almost the exact same spot, if not the exact same spot as this one here. Once again, and I just left it. I tried to write it out as long as I could, and it couldn't. It just went puh, and that was it. And I thought, well, that's weird. There is something called arc blow. I have watched a lot of videos on it. Who am I thinking of? WeldingTipsandTricks.com with Jody Collier was explaining arc blow and stuff, but he was welding on a big, thick, you know, a big, you know, long piece of steel. I've also watched Bob from Weld.com, and I can't think, why can I not think of his last name? He's an instructor for Cali College. Bob Moffitt. Same thing. He's demonstrated arc blow, but it seems to me there were longer pieces. Maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't think that I'd run out of ground. I know that if you have a long piece with DC, eventually the resistance gets so high that it basically lose contact and kind of explodes like that, and they call that arc blow. So you have to take your ground point and move it closer to where you're welding. But I could see it on a long piece. I don't know about a short piece. So experienced welders, if you've had experience with that, please comment down below because I'm very curious. Now, Let me show you what I did use. And sorry for all the noise. So here's what I was using for clamping. Okay, so I clamped this in the middle, and then I took my ground and went to here. Now, there's a couple things. With these here, if you see this here, so if I hook my ground clamp here, it's going to run through here, and it goes to this little pin. This little, well, it's on this side. This little, well, it's actually on both sides, but it doesn't do me any good if I point on that side. So here's this pin. Okay, so that's a high resistance point. Okay, then you've got this piece here, which is also loose, and you know, depending on how well that contacts the piece of material that you're doing. So one of my theories is maybe between this pin here and however, I mean, it had it tight, but that doesn't mean it's making good contact. Maybe I have a high enough resistance point here that you know, maybe it was enough to where I lost continuity that far up the piece of material. I don't know. I'm asking. That's my theory. I don't know if that's right or not. I think next time I weld on one of these pieces, I'm going to either just clamp directly to it, or one of the things I got from Jody Collier is get a piece of copper braid and put it under the part and then clamp that. What I'm thinking, if I can run it all the way along this, then I've got ground all the way along the part rather than just in one spot. I don't know. That's just my thinking. I don't know if that's right. Like I said, for you experienced welders who have way more time at stick welding than I do, let me know about this. Like I said, this is my first T-joint, so this is a first experience. I've done probably a little bit longer pieces on flat material. I've never had an issue with it, although I could understand because you've got, you know, multiple resistance points here. I don't know, you know. But anyway, like I said, with using these rods, and Trekkie, thank you for having that video because it did help me. I know you don't care for the company and that stuff like that, and no names mentioned, but it did me a favor because it gave me another option for a 7018 rod. One of these days I will actually try the Lincolns that are in a can, the Excaliburs, but it seems like those you have to order. Excuse me, I haven't asked the one company that you don't deal with because I'm not going to ask them about that. I'll go to my favorite welding spot and say, hey, can I get a can of these if they have them? If not, I'll order them online. But I don't want to rely on 7018 rods, or any rod for that matter, that I have to always order online. You can do it that way, but I just choose not to. Anyway, so like I said, I'm kind of proud of that. I know it's not perfect. That's my very first T-joint, and with using these rods, and they seem to work pretty good, all of my flaws came out big time, and not just one, it was multiple. Like I said, I had undercut, I got more material on the base here than actually in the joint where it should have been. Did I already mention undercut? I got arc blow, at least I think it was arc blow, on both sides, almost identical spots. And so there was all of these things popping out. To me, that's exciting. I know that sounds stupid, but that means I recognize the things I have to work on, and that's what makes me happy when I'm doing the big box store rods. I'm concentrating, okay, am I going to get porosity? Why did it get porosity here but not here? And what am I doing wrong and right? Blah, blah, blah. Well, this here, I ran both sides, and it was okay. It's not perfect. It's not acceptable. I get that, but for my first time on a T-joint, I think that was okay. Now, here's the kicker. I used the machine that was probably least likely to succeed with those rods. Now, why do I say that? It's not that this is a piece of junk, but you have absolutely no control except for amperage. That's all you have. This is a Chicago Electric welding. This is what Harbor Freight used to carry. They don't carry this anymore. It's a TIG end stick machine. I got it on sale for, I don't know, like $160. I went in looking for the 80 amp one. I saw this. I said, well, why would I buy the 80 amp when I could get a little more oomph? And these guys, I did a video on that, these guys, because it's got those itty bitty DIN plugs. So I'm using these so I can run the same stick and lead that I use on the Vulcan. That way everything's the same except the machine. So anyway, least likely machine to succeed. It did very well. No adjustments except amperage. Yeah, I don't know what the... what am I thinking of? Shoot. Hot start is set on this. If it even has a hot start, I don't know. Bad thing about this machine is I think it's a great machine, but it is only 240, which doesn't do a lot of people any good. Now, have you guys seen the new Harbor Freight one? They got an it's not Vulcan, it's titanium coming out. That's going to be 110 or 120, 240, and it's a stick machine. I'm kind of excited to get my hands on that. Anyway, that's about all I got for you guys. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Please subscribe. I appreciate it very much. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like I said, if you guys got answers on that, if that's arc blow, then please let me know. I don't know. The first time I could see it happening. The second time I thought that's really weird. And I had a hard time getting it to restart down here. I did get it to restart, but it wasn't acting right down here. And on this side, I just quit. I wasn't even going to bother with it. When it blew up and quit, I thought I'm just going to stop and try to figure out what that is. And like I said, I did not have the greatest grounding situation on that. I've used this before, but not in that configuration. As far as the rod's concerned, just my opinion, have options. If you can't get your favorite 7018 rod or whatever rod you use, and have options for stuff that you know, hey, Radnor or Rander will work, or Harbor Freight will work, or I only use Lincolns, or Hobart will work, or whatever. I've never tried Hobart. There's another company that I've tried, not in 7018s, and I can't remember what the heck they are. I've tried their 6013s. They seem to work pretty good. That's just it, just options. That's pretty much what this is about, except for the fact that I'm excited about my T-joint. Now that those rods brought out all my all of my faults, now I can focus on that, and that's fun. That's fun for me. Anyway, that's all I got. I hope this guy... I'm going home. I am home. I'm going to bed. I can't have coffee. It's too late at night. Anyway, hopefully this has helped you guys. If you have answers on that, please give me a comment down below, because I'm curious if that was arc blow or not. So that's interesting. I've never had that experience before. Thanks a lot. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Please subscribe. I appreciate it very much. Down, I can't remember where the button is. They switch it. At least it's switched on here. So anyway, you guys have a great weekend. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. I said have a great weekend, but the weekend is just about over. Hopefully you guys had a great Mother's Day. For those of you mothers out there, that probably doesn't sound good, but I'm being serious. And guys, take care of your moms. Treat her good. Take her out to eat. Get her flowers. All that good stuff. You only have one mom, at least I'm assuming so, and they don't last forever. Speaking from experience, this is my first year without my mom, but we're not even going to get into that. Thank you, Chucky 2009, for doing the, I won't say a review, but when you did these rods, it did help me out. I understand, you know, your situation, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, please go to Chucky 2009's website and see the video. I don't remember what it was called. You'd have to scroll through 8 million of his videos, and he will go into much more detail than I want to give, because this isn't about him, but he did help me choose an option other than just Vulcan, which I do like Vulcan rods. One of these days I'm going to go back and forth. Sorry, I'm babbling. I'm going to go back and forth between these and Vulcan and see what I like, and just they're just an arsenal. You know, you can pick and choose if you need to. Anyway, that's all I got on babbling. Guys, have a great weekend. The rest of your weekend. Happy Monday coming tomorrow. See you guys soon.